Hello, welcome to Sci-Fi Scavenger, my booktube channel, and as always a special welcome to you if this is your first visit. Nice to meet you and I hope to see you again. Today I'm going to review Lords of Uncreation by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Published earlier this year, Lords of Uncreation is the third book in the Final Architecture trilogy. If you're not familiar with the series, the premise is that humanity is fleeing as the inscrutable architects run amok for the second time in 70 years, destroying inhabited worlds and many millions of inhabitants with no obvious purpose, turning whole planets into giant origami table decorations. Humans and their alien allies don't really have any real weapons against these destroyers. Occasionally one can be stopped, but generally it is a race to evacuate as many people as possible from the planet before the inevitable end. At the end of the second book, a potential weapon against the architects was discovered, and a shadowy cartel is formed to take advantage of it. It wouldn't be humanity if there weren't squabbling factions with competing priorities and opinions about how best to deal with or live with the architect threat. In this third book, that paranoia is ramped up to include factions within the factions. There's a worrying tilt towards totalitarianism in one, warlordism in another, and secretive spying and scheming in the last. Some months after the events in the second book, we start with this cast of core characters scattered around explored space, each engaged in business of their own. Idris Telemier is an intermediary, one of the best, capable of navigating through unspace without using the throughways, the fixed network of hyperspace routes. He is also sometimes capable of communicating with the architects, an ability he has occasionally been able to use to turn away an attack. At the beginning of this book, at considerable detriment to his own well-being, Idris is spending a lot of time in unspace. He is trying to determine the motivations of the architects that live there. He comes to believe that they are unwilling tools, merely the weapons of the true threat, which Idris thinks is hidden even deeper in unspace. He is frustrated at being unable to convince anyone else. The architects are universally viewed as the enemy, at whom all thoughts of revenge and extermination are aimed. Solace, who is a member of the Parthenon, a human race of genetically engineered super soldiers, is back in the Partheni fleet, confused about orders that she's receiving and concerned about signs of what amounts to a coup d'etat in the Partheni leadership. As that situation develops, she gets caught up in it, taken prisoner as a likely troublemaker. She plays a key role in countering this internal threat, overcoming her long-trained obedience. Ollie Timo is another of the original crew of the Vulture God, the spaceship with the starring role in the first two books. Ollie finds herself adopted as an unofficial crew member of the almighty Scythe of Morning, the dramatically named ship owned by the unspeakable Aklu, the Razor and the Hook, the equally dramatically named criminal mastermind of the enigmatic Essiel race. She and Junior, an ugly juvenile, an unspace-capable alien, go off on a mission without permission, incurring Aklu's displeasure. She redeems herself by later arriving in the nick of time to save Aklu's ship from attack. With help from the supporting cast, these three character threads are gradually woven together as the story proceeds, and the stakes, desperation and threat level all increase dramatically. So what did I like about this series finale? I like the scale of Tchaikovsky's ambitions. I think it's truly epic. He does a good job describing to us the world of unspace, the desperation of Idris and his fellow Ints as they try to find the answers to the big questions. What's behind the architect's attacks? What's their motivation? And most importantly, is there a way to stop them? I particularly like the notion that if unspace is penetrated to sufficient depth, the universe is spread out above like a tablecloth or a sky or the surface of a giant sea, the whole thing visible, the stars, the planets, the throughways, even the flow of conscious thought. As he gets deeper and deeper, Idris is able to see, or guess, what it is that drives the use of the architects as weapons against intelligent species, and to figure out how to end the attacks once and for all. I also really liked Ollie's plot thread. Her character really grew on me in this book. She is a salty kind of character, a real spacer, a make-do-and-mend type. She's a quadruple amputee, or at least is somehow limbless. She gets about using a weaponized walking tool rig called the Scorpion. In the latter stages of the book, she inherits Aklu's even more high-tech walking rig that comes with surprising additional capabilities. Ollie uses these upgrades to play her part in thwarting an attack on Berlanoff, the seat of human government since Earth was destroyed in the first phase of the architect attacks, easy for you to say, more than 70 years earlier. Her character arc ends in a surprising but satisfying way. I think Ollie was my favourite character in the whole series. Solace was another character thread I enjoyed. She really wrestled with conflicting instincts to obey and to do the right thing by her non-Parthenon friends, not to mention the rest of humanity. Solace is a soldier first, a straight arrow, no messing one at that. She kicks ass but has spent time with Idris, Ollie and the rest of the crew and has come to see them as friends despite their messy genetics and disordered approach to life, the antithesis of her Partheni programming. In the end, we can count on her to do the right thing, and she plays a key role in the novel's endgame, donning full battle armour and getting her accelerator gun, Mr. Punch, out to play. I thought the alien species were quite well drawn, although my favourite non-humans were not aliens as such, but the hivers, the conglomerations of techno-roaches, which declared independence from their human masters at some point in the past. I have a couple of gripes too, though. I felt like the first act was Tchaikovsky moving chess pieces around the board. There was a lot of ponderous kind of getting the band back together stuff, and I found this a bit contrived, even a bit of a chore to read. It did pay off handsomely in the latter stages, but wasn't terribly interesting at the time, even a bit confusing given that it's been a year or two since I read the second book. I also got a bit annoyed by Idris. He's a massive wet blanket in this book. He was never a particularly strong character, and in this book he reminded me of Frodo Baggins in The Return of the King. He's just on a never-ending, thankless slog, with a lot of moaning and feeling weak. I get that this is largely a result of his delving nunspace, but he was hard to like in this book. On the other hand, the very survival of the inhabited universe does rest on his shoulders, so I guess I have to forgive him for being a bit of a party pooper. Overall, I thought Lords of Uncreation was an enjoyable finale to what was a good series, and I give this book a solid 7 out of 10. I have a lot of time for Adrian Tchaikovsky and his work, but I don't think this is his best book. Hit the comments and tell me what you thought of this book and the rest of the series. What did you like about it? Did it float your boat? As always, thank you for watching, and I'll be back soon with another science fiction video. Bye for now.